Good morning, everyone. My name is Kathryn Cobleigh. I'm the coordinator for Reef Response at the University of the Virgin Islands. We are the coral restoration organization at the university, and we're based in St. Thomas of the Virgin Islands, which is in the northeast portion of the Caribbean. So we're approximately 1,800 kilometers of where we are now in Key Largo, and we're one of the northern U.S. Virgin Islands next to St. John. We also have St. Croix, which is approximately 60 kilometers south of where we're in northern Virgin Islands. So to give you a little background of who we are as an organization, Reef Response actually began in 2014 as an internship program with the Nature Conservancy. At the time, TNC had 2 in-water nurseries in which our graduate students would go out and help with basic cleaning and maintenance of these nurseries. In 2017, these nurseries were transitioned to UVI, and that's what we mark as our start date of our organization. This is also the beginning of our citizen science program, in which we started working with local dive shops, started by Alex Gutting, who might still be in this room. So working with some of those local dive shops of getting people involved with our program. However, in 2017, we were hit by 2 Category 5 hurricanes of Irma and Maria. And so it's very fitting talking about that in light of everything that's going on now. Unfortunately, this caused extensive damage to not only St. Thomas and the U.S. Virgin Islands as a whole, but it decimated our nurseries. And so at the beginning of 2018, this began our rebuilding process, our expansion process. And so that includes not only who we were working with, where we were working, but also what species we were working with. And this has become even more pressing, especially due to the spread and the prevalence of stony coral tissue loss disease. And so historically, we had been focused on our branching coral restoration efforts, but we have been putting effort and focus into working with those slower growing mounding corals, those susceptible species, to incorporate those into our restoration efforts. And so within our lab at the university, we encompass sort of all of our restoration work under the umbrella of Reef Response. And so we embrace our motto of rescue, research, restore. And so under this umbrella, there are different components of what we're involved with in the Virgin Islands. So we are focused on coral monitoring. So this includes our natural and outplanted acroprid reefs. We maintain our nurseries, which is we have 1 land-based nursery in addition to 3 in-water nurseries. We are active in coral outplanting, and we make sure that we are choosing sites that are not only ecologically and socially and culturally important to the Virgin Islands, but we also have sites that we have easy access to, that we do try some different experimental techniques so that we can go out and monitor frequently. And finally, just given with all the talks previous to me, social outreach is huge. And so any opportunity for us to participate with the community, any opportunity that we have to work with other organizations or host them, we want to make sure that we have a presence with the wider coral restoration community, but also the local community of the Virgin Islands. And so just to give you a little scope of where this work is happening around St. Thomas, we are based out of the Center for Marine and Environmental Studies, as shown by the blue flag. We have 7 monitoring spots for Acropora palmata around the northern Virgin Islands, in addition to 5 locations in St. Croix. And so this involves us, we have fake-tracked Acropora palmata colonies, and we visit those every 6 months. Our land-based nursery is at the blue flag at the Marine Science Center, and we have our 3 in-water nurseries as shown by the green markers. These nurseries feed into our outplanting sites, as you'll see start to pop up with the pink markers. So we have encompassed St. Thomas and our sites that we are targeting for outplanting. And we are expanding over into St. John into the national park waters as well. And for this year, we have additional sites that we will be focusing on, as you'll see pop up with the pink and the star marker. And those are part of our intern and graduate students projects that we will be helping with this later this fall. And so today, though, I want to focus on the work that we were doing at Livongo Key. And so this is located between St. Thomas and St. John. And in 2020, we began a partnership with the Livongo Resort and Beach Club. So they are a new eco resort that is building and under construction at in Livongo Key. And together we developed our program called Rescue to Reef. And the motivation behind this program is to create an educational, an exciting, but also an accessible experience for those to experience coral restoration for the public. The resort is located on the eastern part of the Key, and this was a really exciting and unique opportunity for us to demonstrate our rescue, research, restore mentality, at least on the small scale. And so to do this, we have different zones around the island. First, we have our rescue zone, which we have our newest in-water nursery. Second, our research zone, where we have experimental outplanting plots. And finally, we have our restored zone, which is one of our active outplanting locations. And so first, I want to jump into our rescue zone. Our nursery is located on the southern part of the Key. It's approximately 30 meters from shore. And it's also on the edge of a mooring field that is used for daily use for snorkeling trips, charters, and private boat use. And so this is a highly visited site, which is really exciting. A lot of people get to come see our nursery. So this is our first nursery using rebar structures. So we have 7 tables. And so this picture is just to give you a little scale of what we're working with. They're approximately 2 meters by 1.5 meters. And when you put them together, they spell out Livongo. So this is a 3D model of our nursery. This was taken at the time of when we populated our nursery. So our nursery was installed in the end of 2021 in November, and we have populated our nursery with the Acropora cervicornis earlier this year in April. And so the purpose of this is the high visitation rate so people can see a coral nursery, but also as the colonies grow out, our expectation is that we will prune them and move colonies to move them back to our restored zone as well. I'm going to leap over to our research zone. This is also located on the southern side of the Key, and it's approximately a 5,500 meter squared area. And what's cool about this location, it ranges from 1 meter to about 7 meters depth. There's a lot of opportunity for different research projects. There's a lot of unstable like benthos, so stabilization projects are definitely on our radar, different techniques for outplanting. But one of the projects that we have done here is our pilot study for our multi-species outplanting experiment. And so here, this is where we planted Acropora cervicornis in conjunction with Orbicella annularis and Prias asteroides to see if we could get a health benefit of planting those corals in conjunction. This is also our location where we began planting our coral cones, which involves a cement cone, which we have attached microfragments of Acropora palmata. We've reared them in our land-based nursery to let them fuse out. And the whole motivation behind this is that we could create a structure to promote that branching of those colonies earlier. And so fortunately, we've had really exciting, at least short-term success, to the point where we've been confident of using this technique at some of our other outplanting sites. So it's very positive results, very exciting. And so just to jump back to our restored zone, this is on the northern side of the Key. It's approximately 6,000 meters squared of the area that we're focusing on. Depth range between 1 meter and 5 meters depth. And what's really cool about this site is that there's a lot of optimal outplanting benthos. We have the cool old palmata structure in the shallow zone, and you start to get those Orbicella reef structures deeper down. And this is one of the sites that I could say our team has some of the most fun at. This is restoration for the sake of restoration. This is a highly visited site, and so when we are working there, people see us outplanting. And usually we do have conversations with the snorkelers who are above us. This is a safe location where we take our undergrad and our graduate interns to teach them techniques of restoration. And this is also where we like to take our visiting researchers, scientists, and whenever we host learning exchanges. And so just to put this zone in perspective, since the end of 2020, we've outplanted over 1,000 corals and over 15 different Caribbean species. And so for us, this is definitely one of our more diverse sites as far as what sort of species we're outplanting. Of those species, we have included 4 species that are considered endangered, including Acropora cervicornis and palmata, Orbicella annularis, and Dendrogyra cylindris. And what is also cool is that this is a location where we use different techniques of outplanting. So we include our fragments of opportunity from our designated donor sites around St. Thomas. We use our microfragmentation techniques of those corals that have been reared in our land-based nursery. And also what I think is really exciting is that we have included corals that have been used in previous experiments, have been rehabilitated with our nursery system and deemed healthy enough to be returned back to the reef, which is really important. And that's where a lot of our susceptible species of those fragments have come from at this outplanting site. And so access is a huge component of this program for us. So we want to make sure it's not just those who are going into the water who get to experience our work. And so we have worked with Elisa Bryan and Jervine Stout, who are from VI EPSCoR at the university. And so we've developed educational signage that is posted in the main part of the resort. We have a sign for each of the zones, so to give a little background of what is it that they're seeing, why that piece of the puzzle is important, and where it fits into the bigger story of coral restoration. And one of the things I'm most excited about is we are working on our first edition of our newsletter that will be published or printed later this year in time for Livongo's opening in December. And so this not only goes more into depth of the different zones, but the importance of why this partnership between a university and a private company is important, but also just hitting on those takeaways of the basics. What is a coral? Why should you care? What decisions can the people who are coming and visiting us in the Virgin Islands take away to be a little more environmentally conscious? And so this has been an extraordinary team effort. I would like to give a huge thanks to my lab mates who have helped me with this, especially of you who have been involved from the get-go. I've appreciated all your hard work and dedication. Thank you to Elise and Jervine for all their help with our educational outreach material, Mark and Matt Snyder, as well as their staff at Livongo for their help through this process, and our field assistants who have helped us with outplanting and helping with our nursery, including our graduate, undergraduate interns, Dive Into Life, who I know some of you all were at this conference, the Nature Conservancy, Moat Marine Lab, and Clean Reefs. If you want to learn more about us, if you're interested in collaborating with us or chatting about some of the other awesome things you all are doing, reach out to us, reefresponse.org. You can scan our QR code. It'll take you to our website. My contact information is on the screen, and feel free to check us out on social media. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kathryn. Do you have any questions for Kathryn?
Do you guys work with the hotel for their development, as